It is Sunday, March 17th at 8:53 p.m. I'm going to be doing some warm-up sketches with the Sennelier Ink Brush, which has pigmented, water-soluble inks in it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to use them from the brush and do some warm-ups and then maybe wet with a brush to sort of smooth some things together. I just got 4 colors to test. One is orange, one is ultramarine blue, one is Payne's gray because they didn't have darker blue than this ultramarine blue, which is pretty light. You'll see what I mean when you see it. And then this is burnt sienna. My allergies are pretty bad, so I'm not going to talk. I'm coughing a lot. You squeeze these like you do the squeezy brush from Pentel, but the squeezy in this is much stiffer. And I find that it's very easy to squeeze too much and have little balloons come out of, bubbles come out of paint, or ink, or whatever you want to call them. There is a niceness to this point. This one's already, I've only used it a couple times to get a little curvy, but it does come to a nice point, and with light pressure you can do some, see that line, that's that lovely thick and thin. If you've already seen a lot of my demo videos, you know I like to work directly with a brush pen with no underlying pencil or other kind of sketching media beforehand. So I just like to go in there with the brush and see what happens. If I make a misstroke, I simply incorporate it into the final piece, work around it, and basically just ignore it. So it's just fun. For me, it's play, and especially when you're doing a warm-up like this, it's essential to do just a lot of play. Typically using brush pens I'm already familiar with, I'd be done with the basic features now, and you can see me sort of pausing and thinking. I'm trying to sort of work out how the ink is flowing and what strokes I'm actually going to make it work for what I want to get on the paper. So it's an adjustment to this new tool that is going on here. My big problem with these is I draw with them and then I don't want to wet the lines because I just think the lines, look at that nice little line I did, just that teeny little line right there. It's so wonderful. This is Strathmore 500 series mixed media paper. Just looking for that big shape in there. Get my hand in the right way now. See, now it's already gotten to the point where if I don't have it in just the right angle, it's not going to be a nice. I'd like that to have been lighter and more dry brush, but it doesn't always come out evenly. There's a flow issue for me, these pens. So already the pen is kind of, the tip is kind of going. And I've got my little finger here like this. I'm on the side of my finger. And I had a student ask about this the other day. When I'm holding my watercolor brush, I'll do the same thing. Maybe hold it a little further back, but it's just like this with no pressure, so my nail isn't digging into it or anything like that, and it's just the side. And you want to be careful. You don't want to polish the paper, and if you have hand lotion on, you're going to be depositing that there, so that's not good. And but you just float along. I'm going to hold this a little closer because with light pressure, I'm trying to get these really fine lines. And then I've got this on the back, and it's not bleeding through, so that's nice. You might want to turn the book around and stroke in a different direction for some of these. So I'm going to do this. I don't know if it's going to help much, but just so that you get the light end of the stroke going out. I don't like to turn my book over, but I know a lot of people like to do that all the time. I'm going to just that. What I'd really like, if I can do this, like that amount of lightness. Because there's too much feeding into the brush. Let's see if we can do this. That's what I want for that. But what is this here? I'm not squeezing the brush at all, it's just feeding down into there. This is like a wire-haired retriever or some kind of, I don't know what kind of type this is. There, I'm not putting my finger down because this is still wet. I think that's about it. So I would still like to go in, and there's a lot of reddish brown in here, and that would be nice to add. But just want to have this flat down right now. And I think what I'll do is I'll go in, see what we've got here. I could go in with watercolor. I could go in with orangey burnt sienna. It's more orangey burnt sienna. So if I wanted to use just these inks, I could put a little bit of each of these colors in a palette and I could mix them together. See what's what. Let's just do a little test over here. I keep drawing things that I don't want to put water on because I like the way the marks look. But I'm pushing my hand up more. This was down here like this with just my fingers. This is up here. Can still be with the fingers, but it's lighter. I can move my finger up and down. That kind of thing. So just like this. And I'm keeping my wrist. Oops, didn't want to do that. keeping my wrist neutral. This is not cranked up because one of my students was having a problem with that. Okay, so then let's take this water. And so it's been on there for a while and it's still really water soluble. So the advantage to using this instead of the color brush from Pentel is that this is pigmented ink. And the water-soluble color brushes from Pentel are dye-based and therefore fugitive. So these have pigment in them, so they'd be more light-fast. But you can see, even after they've been on the paper, and this is just a mixed media paper, it's not a watercolor paper with a lot of good watercolor sizing that'll float things, but I can get that really dissolved. That's when you can really see the shape of the brush stroke. So kind of a artificial looking orange. And so let's do this. I have a little bit over here still. So I'm going to take, this looks more burnt orange on my computer, but it's more Saturn red there. Here I try out a bunch of watercolors, making some oranges and some reds, seeing which go to purple, which go to brown. And I'm just trying to find which watercolor mix I might want to use instead of the orange brush. But I can get enough of that color down there. I'm going to use a liner brush. Oops. Like that. Yeah. So you'll see better in the scan the differentiation. There's some blending, but there's a nice differentiation. I like that. So there's the fun of blurring with that, but I could go in and put like, brown in the eyes and stuff, but it's much different. I decide to squeeze out some Payne's Gray ink onto my page where I can have a little puddle of it, and I can pick it up with my very small round liner brush and go in and put some little saturated details, build up some of the darks in a way that I want. It's a finer tip than the tip of the brush pen itself, and that's why I'm doing this. Normally I don't do this type of adaptation. I think this is a negative for me in the way that the brush tip handles. I can get finer detail with my Pentel squeezy body brush pen, but it's fun to have these options, and don't let yourself be backed into a corner. Go ahead and use all of your tools that you have on hand. Oh, it's not going through. So even soaking there, it wasn't going through. That's great. I like that. I like that little bit of extra stuff on there. Don't be so hard on your fine, fine brushes. So I wish I hadn't gone in so hard with the brush to begin with and gone to this sooner. Could have gotten a nicer detail here. It's harder to fix this up. Yep. It should come out curled more. I'll stop there. Oh, come on. And here I've decided to go in with some clean water over the ink to dilute a little bit and draw out some shading from it. A bit of water in there. I don't know if I find that distracting or not. Anyway. Still not bleeding through there. So here's a finished sketch. You can see how bluish the Payne's gray is. And then we'll segue into a scan across the body of the dog so you can see some of the different textures. Basically, we can tell that I feel that the ink is too juicy in this. It flows too quickly for me to do all the marks that I'm used to marking. I don't think I've ever in my entire life picked up a regular brush to go in and apply ink in areas on a brush pen drawing, just because I don't do that. I change to different sizes of tips of brush drawing, but I don't go to regular brushes when I start with a brush pen tool like this. So that seems to me a little bit problematic. And the way that I'm so hard on my brushes is just, that's me, and I admit it. But you see me scrubbing down into my brush. I've only done about 7 or 8 drawings with this, and the brush tip is already not getting the fineness that I would like. So there's a longevity issue, that the tip is going to not have its refinement at the end of its life when there's still ink in the tube, as far as when I'm using it. Everyone uses it totally differently. I think I'm the brush pen inventor's worst nightmare, but this will give you an idea. I think there's a lot of pluses about this brush pen. I like that it's pigmented ink. I like that it's water soluble. I don't know what the light fastness is really going to be on this, just because the right buzzwords are used. I'd like to see the specs on it, but it is a fun tool to use and practice with and warm up with, and that's certainly something that I'll continue to do until I wear these out. A friend of mine wrote in that she didn't like the cap because it was too hard to get on and off, and that is an issue. It is firmer attachment. My big problem with the cap is that it's clear and small, and if you drop it, it's very, very difficult to locate again. And for me, that means I couldn't comfortably sketch at the zoo or in a farm situation with this because I'd be worried about losing the cap and an animal eating it. So that's an issue. But overall, I think it's a good tool to test, have fun with. Just be careful about the fact that it leaks into the cap. I think I mentioned that in another review. And so if you're carrying it in your pack or your purse, carry it upright in one of those pencil cases that stands upright. And just when you take the lid off, you can see that there's ink in there in that cap. Be careful when you pull it off because that will splatter. Okie doke. But overall, it was fun. I think the colors are interesting that they have, and I think that you could have some fun with it, but it's not something I'd rush out and buy if you're happy with the brush pens you already have. There'll be an adjustment period, as there is with any tool, and I'm not sure that the adjustment period is worth it based on what I would end up doing with this and the accommodations I'd have to make. Okie doke, get sketching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.